Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be going over the top 5 carries of patch 7.32e. I'm going to be going in order of best to worst with one honorable mention. Alright, and without further ado, I guess let's get into it. So I do want to start with the honorable mention, and honestly, arguably, this hero could be better than number 5 and number 4 on this list if you play the hero, right? I definitely think Lone Druid, which is the honorable mention of this video, definitely a carry hero I think is pretty good. The hero has a 54% win rate on Dota buff right now. Like, definitely a very, very impressive win rate hero. Like, one of the highest in the game. And so it's tough for me not to put it on this list because also every time I play against Lone Druid, I feel like this hero is very good. Like, rarely do I play against Lone Druid and feel like, oh, I see why no one picks this. Every time I play against it, I'm like, why does no one play this hero? And I think it's just because it's a weird hero. It's like kind of a micro hero, and like, what carry player plays micro heroes? If you're gonna learn micro, you might as well play in the off lane. But Lone Druid's micro really isn't that hard. I mean, it's not easy, but it's also not hard. So if you're looking for a hero to pick up that can play very high tempo, and honestly, I don't recommend Radiance Lone Druid, but it's an interesting concept. The item did get a major buff. It's a concept. I don't think it's good. I recommend you just go some sort of Mask of Menace Maelstrom. Keep it simple. One thing I will say that's kind of nice about Lone Druid that definitely is a buff to the hero is every single uni hero deals 10% less damage to towers. However, this didn't include Lone Druid. In fact, it specifies this. It says, as well as dominated creeps, but not creep heroes like Spirit Bear nor Illusions. So Spirit Bear is one of the best siege things in the game. It's one of the best siege units. It was already one of the best siege units in the game, but now it is particularly good because of the nerf to, Beastmaster, Lycan, Nature's Prophet, Enigma, etc., right? Lone Druid stands out top. Not by a lot, but 10% is definitely significant, and he avoided that. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally with the GameLeap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much, much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the GameLeap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, getting into number 5 on the list, honestly, this hero, once again, it's just not a great pub hero, but I can't not put it on this list. I'm just gonna be real. Every other hero on this list, I think is pub friendly and is definitely good for like your average match. And I definitely tailored number 4, 3, 2, 1 for pubs in particular. But for number 5, I can't help but put Nature's Prophet on this list. The hero literally got nerfed. It lost base agility, it lost agility scaling by a little bit, it lost 0.2 int gain per level, and then Wrath of Nature does a little bit less damage at level 1 and slightly less at level 2, and then Sprout Leashes at level 20 does not pierce spell immunity. So the hero got nerfed. However, it's still one of the best carries in the game, for sure, if you learn it. It's just very, very hard. However, kind of similar to Lone Druid, a little bit of micro goes a long way. This hero's ceiling, the hero ceiling is insane. It's insane. It's just higher than most other Dota heroes. The ability to solo carry matches on Furion is insane. This hero lanes favorably into almost every offlaner in the game, so you rarely will get dominated in lane unless you truly mess up, right? Maybe if you're against like Primal Beast with a 5 who doesn't stun, you can struggle, but most matchups, if you play well and harass well, are favorable. You jungle quick, so if your lane is bad, you can jungle and recover. You can take the enemy safe lane tower with your level 6 timing and open up your offlaner's game. There is so much stuff you can do with NP, and it's not like, oh, this is some early game hero that stomps his lane and then falls off, right? It's no Viper. It's a hero that stomps its lane and then is one of the best scaling late game heroes in the game. Just as the nature of it having 1.5 base attack time, right? It just hits really fast and farms faster than most heroes. So I can't not put it on this list. You're gonna continue to see carry Furion in pro games, and if you don't, either they're crazy or I've lost my mind, because I think this hero is still a top level carry. All right, getting into number 4 is Wraith King. Yeah, you heard it right. I don't think Wraith King will get picked much in the pro scene because of his pretty abusable level 1 and level 2 timings. I think that really puts the hero in a weird place. I also think it gets out carried by a lot of heroes if they farm properly. But when it comes to pubs, I think Wraith King is actually in a pretty good spot right now. I think the skeleton talents are very undervalued. I know everyone takes the level 10 skeleton talent, which is definitely very powerful and is the right choice, but I honestly think people should take every skeleton talent. They're really powerful. But why is Wraith King on this list now? Wraith King has always been a good pub hero. it's always had a good win rate. Like even when it was like really bad last patch and the patch before that, or I don't want to say really bad, it wasn't really bad, but it was just like okay, it's still at a 50% win rate. You know what I mean? It's still just like a solid hero that most people can play, especially if you're a support player trying to play carry. This is the hero for you. But yeah, Radiant's got a major buff. Radiant's got a major buff, and a lot of Wraith King players are buying Radiance and continue to buy Radiance. And while I think honestly Armlet Deso is the better build in certain games, in a lot of matches when you're going to get kited on Wraith King, or if you're against illusion heroes, you can opt for this Radiance build, and it's 350 gold cheaper. Yes, you hit for 5 less damage, but you would make that trade-off every, day of the week. Of course, right? 5 less damage for 350 gold. I mean, the Radiance timing. And by the way, the burn does the same amount of damage, so it's only your attack damage. The burn's the same. And so you just stay alive for a really long period of time. Your hero clears side lanes. Like, honestly, part of the reason I think Wraith King has a higher win rate in pubs, at least average pubs compared to Hymomar pubs, is because people naturally clear side lanes more in Hymomar games. But in Loremar games, when you spawn skeletons, you accidentally push the side lanes in. Maybe that's a little toxic. I'm sorry, guys. I hope I didn't offend anyone too much. But yeah, Wraith King, the Radiance buff, it's definitely a build you can go. If you don't know what item build to go, I honestly still recommend considering going Armlet into Radiance. I had a player against me go Radiance into Armlet, which I actually don't mind. I think it's criminal that people think you can't buy 2k gold items after a large item. Like people think like, oh, I bought a Battle Fury, I can't go Blade Mail, which is a weird example because I don't think there's any hero that does that, but you get the point. Like it's very much like hated on to buy like a big item and then a small item. However, like Armlet, Radiance Armlet, very legit, right? You hit incredibly hard. It gives you the armor you need. It gives you a little bit of attack speed. It just works. Like it just works. I definitely recommend going either Armlet Radiance or Radiance Armlet and then into a Blink and then into a BKB, and you'll feel pretty good. Then we have Animage. Animage is a hero that is really weird for me to put on this list because I think in terms of the pro scene, it's definitely somewhat of a niche pick, and in pubs, I still think it is best as a last pick hero. If the enemy team picks a Sand King and their mid is a Storm Spirit or an Invoker, and the enemy team just lacks a lot of lockdown, it's a good Animage game, and the hero is going to feel like one of the best heroes in Dota. However, if the enemy has a bunch of unit heroes and high physical damage, you probably shouldn't pick Animage. However, the hero's win rate was very good last patch. It seems to carry your average pubs. It's also a very good laner when people trade with it one-on-one, which I think a lot of people don't pull creep aggro and then they just get destroyed by Animage, because every time I coach like your average pub, like 2k, 3k, 4k, Animage like dominates. I'm just like, what? This hero, I mean, it's good, but people just let AM hit them way too much. And this hero's right mana burn is just crazy. This hero dominates in the early levels. But what do they buff about it, making it good in this patch? What they buffed about it is that now its backswing is a lot shorter, which honestly doesn't matter much if like you canceled your backswing, but the win rate on this hero is shot up. This isn't the only buff, but its win rate is shot up, which makes me think that like a lot of people do not cancel their backswing. In fact, I know people don't cancel their backswing, which is something you guys should look into. Next point, Mana Void now applies the mini stun to all affected units. And I've actually seen this come into play and be a bigger deal than I expected. Even though Mana Void is obviously not a very long duration stun, it's only 0.3 seconds, the fact that it's AoE is a big deal. It cancels many channeled abilities, and on top of that, it kind of just like catches people off guard. You know what I mean? It will cancel their animation, it will cancel random spells. It just kind of messes with people in very unintentional but effective ways. And so yeah, Animage was already winning pubs. He got some pretty solid changes, and so yeah, I honestly feel like a lot of the good carries got nerfed. And so these kind of like low A tier, high B tier carries are just shooting up. You know what I mean? Like Klink's got nerfed, Lina got nerfed, Drow got nerfed. Like I kind of wanted to put Drow on this list still, even though she did get nerfed like pretty damn hard. Her ulti now gives only half the bonus agi to allies. I still think Drows are a pretty good hero. Like, don't get me wrong, I do. However, you know, like that's a big nerf. So like Drow got hit, as I said, Lina got hit, Jug got like an inconsequential buff. But basically a lot of the high tier meta carries, Naga got hit, right? Which is definitely a hero that's been very good in pubs for a while. So a lot of the top carries got hit, and so these other carries are kind of getting shot into the meta, which is like a little bit sad, because I would have rather say like, these heroes got really cool buffs, and they're like really strong now because Valve made a cool change, but it's like, Animage has less backswing, but Lina got nerfed. All right, getting into the second best hero, actually talking about a cool change. You know what? I'll give Valve credit for this one. I like this change a lot. I just kind of hated on them, but you know what? I'll change my mind. It's Clinks. So Clinks was a hero that's like basically untouched at the pro level, almost completely untouched. It's kind of abusable. It's pretty gankable. I think it's underrated though. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's even at the pro level. I think it's an underrated hero. It's just kind of a weird hero that, as I said, is abusable in high Mara games. That's like, basically, if you can synergize against Clinks in the lane, he has a hard time. And that's generally the problem with Clinks, and in my opinion, why you don't see him that much. It just feels like he can lose a lot of lane matchups, and it's tough to come back. It's tough to jungle on a hero that's very squishy when he loses his lane, and he doesn't jungle that well when you lose your lane. So it's like, it's kind of like a PA type hero. I kind of see him the same way as PA, where it's like you have a lot of bad matchups and it's hard to recover in higher MMR games. Let's not talk about that, because like, as I said, this hero's win rate's been good for a while, and now it just received the buff. When you come out of Skeleton Walk, your invisibility, you summon this mini skeleton archer thingy and it starts shooting at people. So basically, Clinks' win rate was already good. All the other carries got nerfed, and now just randomly during team fights, you get a little bit of extra damage from the skeleton army soldier, and it just pushes certain kills over the edge, right? A kill you might have barely missed just happens now. And it really does add up, because you're going to get 2 of these skeletons in most team fights, right? Assuming you're going on someone, right, from invis, then you're going on to another target later on the fight from invis, you're getting 2 of these skeletons. It just matters. You know what I mean? It's one of those buffs where it's like, okay, this is a good change. It's a cool change. It's a hero that was a little bit underpicked, but definitely good in pubs. So let's give it a slight buff. And now it might be one of the top meta heroes, and I would certainly consider learning Clinks, going the Maelstrom, Dragonlance, BKB, Gleipnir, Daedalus type route, and you'll have a very, very strong game most games. This hero, like really what I've noticed about this hero, I looked at some stats. It gets some of the highest amount of gold per kills, because what I've seen is that on the Gleipnir Daedalus timing, you just kind of solo kill cores in fights. Like, obviously not from full HP, but they'll get a little bit low, you kind of come in, clean up, and the amount of damage this hero does, it just chunks. If you've played against late game Clinks, this hero chunks. And by the way, one thing I didn't realize, I will say, one thing I didn't realize that is a major buff to Clinks this patch, is that this skeleton army soldier is very good to eat. It gives you a lot of health and a lot of damage for whatever reason. I actually don't even understand it. So basically, in certain scenarios, when you're running around, maybe there isn't a good creep to eat, right? There's no neutral camp, there's no large camp. Maybe the camp's cleared or it's dead or blocked, whatever, right? Or your middle team fight and your death pack's running out and you need to reset it, right? It's max level because the duration is 65 at max level and the cooldown 60. Maybe you just need to reset it. You would have nothing around. You'd have to go leave the fight to get a creep, or you'd have to go out of your way. Now, you just go invis, come out of invis, eat the skeleton. So you always have the ability to death pack next to you. And that is honestly, it comes in handy, right? So not only do you do more damage, you have more access to your ulti frequently, right? It's just a big change, right? It's not something you're going to do early game. Typically, death pack should be used on neutral creeps early game just to farm them, right? Helps you amp up your efficiency a bit, but yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. It's very, very powerful. Yeah, but as I was saying, last thing about Clinks, the talents on this hero are insane. Like at level 10, you take Skeleton Walk cooldown. At 15, you typically take Death Pact health, which is just super strong. At 20, you can take attack range, it's not bad, but the 3 Burning Barrage arrows, I mean, the Q just does a disgusting amount of damage. And then at 25, this one's also a bit tough because they're just both really good. Searing Arrows multi-shot, which I believe works on the Skeleton Walk skeleton, or Burning Barrage damage, which I believe is generally what you take, because you take the, the Burning Barrage at 20, talent, and then at 25. All right, but the most broken carry of the patch, and I genuinely believe that this is honestly probably the most reliable hero of the patch, and that is Spectre. Spectre right now, you could go Radiance with the buff to Radiance. I don't think it's that bad. I'm personally a hater because Radiance does less damage with illusions, so I really don't recommend it. I just think with a lot of the other carries getting nerfed, Spectre not getting touched, and I think this hero was good, right? I definitely think it's a hero that maybe could have gotten a slight nerf potentially. It didn't get touched, and now you have a situation where a lot of the top meta carries are out, which is certainly a big deal. Spectre kind of just slides in there, right? And that's what it comes down to. I think this hero is a little bit undervalued as is. It's a pretty solid laner. It has way too much armor, way too much base regen. It has a range creep secure. Dispersion makes you take less damage. It just doesn't lose a lot of lanes, right? It's one of those heroes where you're going to pick it in the pub, you're going to pick it in your pub, and you're just going to have a fine time. You shouldn't get dominated in most lanes of Spectre. Your hero's just too tanky. It can kite very well with the dagger. It can, as I said, not overextend because of the range creep secure. It's just a solid hero, man. It's just a solid hero. And if you haven't tried the Ags Manta build, You gotta try it. I really think people who go, I mean, Blade Mail is good some games too. If it's a good Blade Mail game, like for instance, in the Talon versus Shopify series, he bought a Blade Mail. It does help you farm stacks. That's the main thing. It's like they stacked a lot for him. It's really good for taking stacks. You pop the Blade Mail. It's only 25 mana. You just use it off cooldown to farm with it. Just very, very strong, and it works well with Dispersion. So there's that. But then the Ag's Manta. I mean, you are a presence on the map. It is terrifying to play against a good Spectre player. Like, I have one of my friends who's not even a core. Literally, he's my teammate. He's my position 5 player. Played Spectre. He was terrorizing the enemy team. Terrorizing them. Like, wherever they show up, he got a Hex eventually. Wherever they show up, it's just, even if you didn't kill them, it's just like haunting you, because it's a 40-second cooldown. This like spectral haunt thingy, the mini haunt from the axe, it's a 40-second cooldown. You target one person with haunt, and it daggers them as well. So you just haunt on them, you summon Manta, and then you can haunt out. That's how it works. You can always go back to your original place. So if a support just casually shows, you can literally solo kill a lot of heroes with 0 commitment. It's a 40-second cooldown. Manta's 30. Like, I'm telling you, when you have a good game of Spectre, when you get off to a decent start, and especially when the other people around you aren't flash farming, which people aren't that good at farming in pubs. Like, on average, they're not. They're just not. I don't know what to tell you. They're just not. Spectre gets an edge. So if you're looking for the best carry of the patch, I definitely think Spectre, the Ag's Manta build. You can look into the next items. Honestly, the next items depend. Some people will go Orchid if it's a good game for that. Scotty if the enemy has a lot of ranged heroes. You can go Hex, as I mentioned earlier, right? There's like a lot of routes you can go to really enable this hero to pop off. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what role you want me to update you guys on next. I'm definitely taking a look at best offlaners for myself, as I'm an offlane player. But yeah, I'd be happy to cover any of the roles, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!